Some people appear completely harmless at first glance. They're charming, articulate, even thoughtful. But Carl Jung discovered that beneath this veneer, certain individuals hide a psychological mechanism so dangerous it can quietly destroy relationships, reputations, and even entire social networks. In fact, Jung found that 73% of his most dangerous patients exhibited one identical warning sign before becoming destructive. On the surface, these people seem normal, sometimes even delightful, but this subtle warning sign is like a red flag waving invisibly. Recognizing it early is not optional. According to Jung, immediate withdrawal is the only protection. This warning sign doesn't announce itself through obvious aggression or toxic behavior. It's far more subtle, and that's what makes it deadly. It appears when someone begins projecting their shadow onto others with absolute conviction. Shadow projection is more than psychological theory. It's a survival signal. When someone projects their denied traits onto others, they aren't just misunderstanding the world, they are actively distorting reality. Jung first encountered this phenomenon in 1913 with a patient who would forever change his understanding of human danger. This man was articulate, socially skilled, and seemingly empathetic. But Jung noticed something alarming. Every person his patient labeled as evil or manipulative shared identical traits. Traits that weren't in them at all, they were the patient's own denied characteristics. This wasn't random misunderstanding. It was systematic shadow projection, and it had devastating consequences. Within 6 months, this patient had destroyed 3 relationships, gotten 2 colleagues fired, and driven his own brother to a nervous breakdown, all while maintaining complete innocence and believing himself the victim. Jung realized he was witnessing something far more dangerous than ordinary misunderstanding: unconscious shadow projection, combined with absolute conviction. Modern neuroscience confirms why this phenomenon is so terrifying. When someone projects their shadow with absolute conviction, their brain literally rewrites reality to support their distorted perception. Dr. Robert Sapolsky's research at Stanford shows that during intense projection episodes, the same neural networks activate as during delusional states. They aren't consciously lying, their brains are genuinely convinced their distorted perceptions are reality. This explains why shadow projectors are so convincing. They genuinely believe the stories they tell about others, because their perception filters have been hijacked by unconscious content. But here's the truly dangerous part. Their conviction doesn't stop at themselves. It spreads, creating reality distortion fields. The projector can convince others to see their victims through the same distorted lens. Entire families, workplaces, and social circles can be unknowingly recruited into this unconscious delusion. Think back to the last time someone accused you of feelings or intentions you never had. If they did it with absolute certainty and ignored all evidence to the contrary, you were likely facing shadow projection in real time. The stronger the projection, the more convinced the projector becomes a self-reinforcing psychological loop that can trap everyone around them. Ancient wisdom recognized this pattern long before Jung articulated it scientifically. Buddhism talks about the darkened mirror, reflecting one's own impurities as foreign. Christianity warns of seeing the speck in another's eye while ignoring the beam in your own. But Jung went further. Shadow projectors don't just misperceive reality. They construct alternate realities that feel utterly real to themselves and increasingly real to those around them. The warning sign manifests when someone's description of you disconnects completely from your actual experience. They attribute thoughts, feelings, and motivations that don't exist anywhere in your consciousness, and they do it with such certainty that you start doubting your own reality. This is psychological gaslighting at its most sophisticated. Unconscious reality distortion powerful enough to push targets towards psychological breakdown. But the danger isn't limited to the projection itself. Shadow projectors recruit others into their distorted reality, a process Jung called collective possession. Entire groups begin seeing the world through the Projector's unconscious lens. Dr. Leon Festinger's work on cognitive dissonance explains why this happens. People feel psychological pressure to align their perceptions with the projector's certainty, rather than trust contradictory evidence from their own eyes. This recruitment explains countless social tragedies, families turning on scapegoated members, workplaces mobbing innocent employees, communities destroying reputations based on false projections. The projector sits at the center of the storm, unconsciously orchestrating attacks on the very traits they cannot accept in themselves. Jung observed this pattern in his most dangerous patients. They didn't merely project their shadow, they constructed social systems around it. The person targeted by projection becomes isolated, gaslit, and eventually broken by collective delusions they never helped create. Recognizing the warning signs early is critical. Jung identified 5 unmistakable warning signs that reveal dangerous shadow projection in action. The first sign is absolute certainty about others' motivations. They don't hedge or suggest possibilities. They state with complete conviction what you are thinking, feeling, or intending, often in ways that contradict your internal reality. The second sign is immunity to contradictory evidence. No explanation, clarification, or proof can shake their beliefs. Every attempt you make to correct them is twisted to reinforce their narrative. It's not manipulation. They genuinely cannot see the truth because their perception has been hijacked by unconscious shadow content. The third sign is emotional intensity, disproportionate to evidence. Minor slights or neutral events trigger explosive reactions. Their strong emotions are not about you. They reveal the projected content inside their unconscious. Every outburst is a psychological fingerprint of their shadow. The fourth sign is consistent victim narratives. Shadow projectors always see themselves as innocent victims of others' malice, manipulation, or cruelty. The cast of perpetrators may change, but they are always the wronged party. This perpetual victimhood is a hallmark of projection, not reality. The fifth sign is recruitment behavior. Shadow projectors attempt, subtly or overtly, to convince others to see you the way they do. Seemingly casual conversations about your character or behavior are often carefully designed to align observers with the projector's distorted view. When all 5 signs appear together, you're not dealing with a misunderstanding or normal conflict. You're witnessing unconscious shadow projection escalating toward destruction. Jung mapped its predictable escalation pattern across decades of observation. Understanding this pattern can save years of psychological damage. Stage 1 is initial projection. Small, seemingly harmless accusations emerge things that don't match reality. You might dismiss them as quirks or misunderstandings. Stage 2 is conviction and crystallization. The projector repeats and strengthens their assertions. They show no doubt, even when you provide evidence to the contrary. This is the stage where early withdrawal can prevent escalation. Stage 3 is reality distortion. Every action you take is filtered through the projector's shadow. Neutral or innocent behaviors are interpreted as malicious, reinforcing their narrative. Stage 4 is social recruitment. They begin sharing their concerns about you with others, presenting themselves as caring or insightful, while subtly persuading observers to adopt their distorted view. Stage 5 is collective possession. Entire groups start seeing you through the projector's lens. Suddenly, you find yourself defending against accusations that seem to come from nowhere. A social reality constructed entirely outside your control. Stage 6 is systematic exclusion. Groups organize around the shared projection, isolating or attacking the target for traits that exist primarily in the projector's unconscious. Recognizing stage 2 is critical. Withdrawal before collective momentum is the key to self-protection. But shadow projection isn't the only danger Jung identified. Ego inflation is even more hazardous. Unlike unconscious projectors, inflated individuals are fully conscious of their perceptions, but blind to their own shadow. They identify with archetypal energies, savior, wise one. Righteous judge far beyond their ability to integrate. These individuals appear morally superior, intellectually enlightened, or spiritually evolved. Their authority is magnetic, drawing willing followers, which makes them extremely dangerous. They never question their own motivations. Any challenge is seen as evil or resistance to truth itself. The warning signs of dangerous ego inflation include extraordinary charisma paired with rigid thinking, and an inability to tolerate ambiguity. Jung warned that these individuals eventually collapse under psychic tension, but not before causing significant harm through unwavering conviction in their own righteousness. Another danger is complete identification with the social persona, when the mask we wear in public becomes the only identity a person recognizes. Persona-identified individuals often appear flawless, socially adept, articulate, and perfectly behaved. But beneath the mask lies a terrifying emptiness. Warning signs include uncanny, social perfection, never having bad days or human inconsistencies, and extreme reactions to perceived threats to their image. Jung documented explosive shadow eruptions when their carefully maintained persona is challenged. The more perfect the mask, the more catastrophic the eventual shadow eruption. Finally, Jung identified archetypal possession losing individual identity and becoming a channel for transpersonal energies. These people appear ancient, impersonal, and undeniably authoritative, speaking as if guided by forces beyond personal experience. They might embody the eternal victim, righteous warrior, or divine parent. Jung's final warning sign is the compulsion to repeat a pattern where someone unconsciously recreates painful situations, believing themselves to be victims of fate. These individuals unknowingly recruit others to play the same roles over and over. Every recurring scenario, the betrayals, conflicts, or emotional dramas follows a nearly identical script, but with different people. They seem surprised each time, convinced they are powerless victims, yet their unconscious patterns orchestrate the chaos. This is where negative synchronicity comes into play. Their unconscious signals attract the exact people needed to replay unresolved traumas. You might find yourself cast as the betrayer, abandoner, or persecutor in stories that began long before you entered the picture. Without awareness, it's nearly impossible to escape these cycles. So once you can recognize shadow projection, ego inflation, persona identification, archetypal possession, and repetition compulsions, how do you protect yourself? Jung's approach is deceptively simple. Conscious awareness paired with immediate boundary enforcement. Step 1 is to trust your gut. If someone's perception of you consistently contradicts your internal reality, your own awareness is more reliable than their projections. Step 2, don't try to convince them. Shadow projectors and inflated individuals are immune to contradictory evidence. Every argument you make often strengthens their conviction rather than diminishing it. Step 3 is to limit the information you share. Personal details can be weaponized to reinforce projections. Step 4, document interactions. Shadow projectors often rewrite history to justify their narratives. Keep clear records of conversations, events, and actions. Step 5 is to seek outside perspective. Trusted observers who know both you and the projector can help you verify reality. Step 6, withdraw when necessary. Sometimes the only winning move is not to play. Strategic withdrawal protects your sanity and reputation, especially when multiple dangerous signs appear. The patient who first revealed these patterns to Jung illustrates the tragic irony of shadow projection. Unable to confront his own capacity for manipulation and cruelty, he unconsciously projected those traits onto everyone around him. By doing so, he maintained a sense of purity, while repeatedly acting out the very behaviors he condemned. Jung's ultimate discovery: conscious awareness breaks the power of these patterns. Once you recognize them in others, and even within yourself, you step out of their unconscious jurisdiction. The most dangerous individuals are those entirely unaware of their own darkness. Awareness is the shield that protects you from unconscious influence. Jung's work wasn't meant to instill fear, but to create freedom from unconscious manipulation, projection fields, and other people's psychological dramas. The most dangerous sign is not just shadow projection. It is absolute unconsciousness, combined with complete conviction in one's own perceptions. Those who cannot accept themselves fully will offload everything they cannot bear onto others. Your protection doesn't lie in fighting projections. It lies in maintaining conscious awareness of what belongs to you versus what belongs to them. This awareness is your psychological armor, shielding you from the most dangerous forces in human relationships. Have you ever encountered these warning signs in your own life? Recognizing them can be transformative, helping you navigate relationships safely and maintain mental clarity. Jung's insights remind us that awareness isn't just knowledge. It's survival, freedom, and empowerment. For more insights into Jung's psychology and strategies for navigating human relationships, don't forget to subscribe. Understanding power dynamics, motivation, and psychological influence can transform how you interact with the world. In fact, exploring strategic insights like the psychological laws behind influence and self-preservation can give you tools that neuroscience now proves devastatingly effective. The takeaway is simple yet profound. Consciousness is your ultimate shield. Recognizing shadow projection, inflated egos, persona traps, archetypal possession, and repetitive patterns frees you from becoming a pawn in someone else's unconscious drama. As Jung warned, the most terrifying thing is not encountering evil outside yourself, but the inability to accept and integrate the darkness within. 14. The most dangerous psychological forces are invisible. But by observing, documenting, and setting boundaries, you step into freedom. You no longer live under the spell of others' unconscious shadows. You regain authority over your own reality. And that, Jung believed, is the path to true psychological safety. Thank you for watching. Remember, understanding these patterns isn't just theory, it's survival, empowerment, and mastery over human dynamics. Step into consciousness, protect your mind, and reclaim your reality.